Starting out along the north part of the Desatoya here, heading to its south end. This is the second range of the three. The third is over there. Snow Peak up there. We'll name it later. For now, this ridge is painfully winding, so I'm just calling it a default slow day with the heavy pack from resupply last night and the winding ridge. Just gonna not be setting any speed records today. Hit that high point when we get there and continue along. First major high point bump of Desatoya. That's above 8,000 feet. I'll show you interesting plants when I run into them. I hope it happens. Pretty monocultural so far. Progress is pretty slow in these cercocarp thickets. Lots of crawling through them. Making far less than a mile per hour. It's a little bit early spring still up here at 8,000 plus. And what does exist has already been kind of totaled by the effing crickets. This Beckera, for example, I want to collect soon. Hard to find it intact. It's been exhausting. Day one, winding through the Desatoya. It winds so much, and there's lots of cercocarp thickets, and now even boulders, and plenty of other rock problems along the way. Only a handful of miles accomplished with a relatively heavy pack in these conditions. Didn't collect a single plant today, so not too interesting on that front either. However, tomorrow looks like it opens up onto the steppes up there, and march along and hopefully collect some plants. Day 2 of Desatoya. Clouds blew in last night. Momentarily heavy rains fell as I was camping. Spattering rains kind of sporadically. The Toyabe's slightly socked in, not fully. Got high country ahead myself, so could be a wet and cool day. I may need to camp at times, especially as I get onto the exposed steppe ahead. Step ahead and shifting, moving cloud ahead. Where it was darkest last night, it's clearest today though. Out towards the west here. Looks sunny into California. Just see what happens. Somewhere in the Desatoya. Breached the steppe zone now. My GPS went out, which happened to me on Tokima last year. It seems like the service is down. Very, very odd in my 16, 17 years of GPSing. That's happened to me twice in a year now. With a particular unit. Makes me think it's time to modernize and just go full on cell phone from now on. Pictures, videos, and GPSing. It's kind of the way to do it now. It's possible now. It's how other people do it now. So I've started to be doing it on international trips now. You'd get better videos from me. Maybe not as good of plant photos, however. I'm not sure about that. That's why I have the darn old school camera here still, to be honest with you. Takes darn good close-ups of flowers, which is part of my purpose of being out here on the sagebrush steppe. After all, still safe from precip for now. Lots of Mormon crickets out, lots of ravens and their mating rituals. You can hear them squawking up there. They're having a blast. Take my word for it. Phloxes are coming out. They're quickly devastated by any crickets around. The crickets form in localized zones and then they seem to spread outwards from there. They seem to mate locally, forage locally, and then spread out from there for the rest of the season. That's what I'm starting to pick up from being here during a wet spring so early in the spring. Hopefully the GPS service comes back on, or it could be painful getting to the next stash or two. GPS was very important even just yesterday. This quite winding mountain range here, the Desatoya, embedded in the cercocarp and PJ thickets. Hard to see where the ridges go, with multiple forked ridges up there. Back there rather. Back that away. I'm just breaching the forest now onto the steppe. And as slow as it was yesterday, it would have been even worse without a functioning GPS unit. So I'm a little unsettled when it goes out still, especially today. It's easy to see things on the steppe, however, assuming it remains unstormed. When things get bad, when it gets stormy on the steppe and you can't see where to go, there's no GPS to help you out. The current cell phone battery levels are quite low. That is the time to simply bunker down, pitch camp until whatever conditions improve. I do have some faith the GPS will restore its service. It's Memorial Day weekend. The service could have been overused. Who the heck knows? Pretty new phenomenon, but it's happened this May, today, and one day last June. Harrowing day in the Tukima. Similarly, kind of clouded, stormy conditions. But you wouldn't know it right now. Starting to realize that I'm seeing a superbloom develop before my eyes. I think we'll see some fine sights in the weeks ahead. This is the beginning. The insects and birds really ramp it up first. They're waiting too for all the rest of the flowers to come out. They're just starting to. The paintbrushes aren't even out yet, so I'm seeing them popping up everywhere, but they're not in flower. Lupins popping up everywhere, not in flower yet. I'm neither happy nor sad to be here this time of year. It's a good look at the Great Basin early on for me. And I like the cool temps. High point of this range is interesting in that it forms a neat cross. The east-west ridge is quite extensive in both directions, many miles in length. West ridge, east ridge, not as much as the miles comprising the south and north parts of the mountain range from this high point, however. Case in point, just got thrown off the ridge because I thought the ridge continued along that mountain instead of its wild wind to the back, to the east there. But I'm staying on track, crossing over canyons, and that's the high Desatoya there. I'll get there via ridges and canyons, it turns out. Should have shown you. I was a bit irritated at the time. Once you start going down a mountain like that, it's hard to convince yourself to turn back around to do a horseshoe ridge like that. Plants have been more interesting down here. Made a couple collections, including an interesting scree inhabiting carry-off. So sometimes things may happen for reasons. I may have actually cut off some time crossing over the lower canyons and ridges here, as opposed to that wild horseshoe to the northeast. And my direction of travel is indeed south to southwest. So I was diverted from that high country above there, came up this creek drainage, and I'm going to regain the ridge here, up into the Desatoya proper. Snow summits ahead. GPS is working again, so no worries about finding stashes or anything. Although I was starting to think I could have handled it just fine. You never know, it could go out again. They were out of service today, I guess. Bad day for me to have them out of service. It cost me some time and mileage, but I was never lost. The twin Desatoya peaks there ahead. Just gonna wind around this part of the ridge. Very much sagebrush steppe, even though it appears alpine. This is not proper alpine, though it snowed in late May. Sagebrush steppe. Almost at 10,000 feet here in the Desatoya high point. Spring is not developed yet this high. Well above 9,000 now. Perhaps it will be by the time we make it out there. Or further to the north out there. Leaving the steppe crest to the south now. Starting to wrap up this range. 4 miles to the highway. Beginning the great descent down in earnest. Towards near the end of the range, not quite the end of the range. At the highway, that's Bald Mountain aloof from the main ridge. Here's the main ridge trending downwards. Bastard still twisting to the end here. Just got my stash at the highway here. Obscure highway, not much traffic. Maybe 4 cars an hour. Even on a holiday weekend and it's evening. This range continues a few more miles onwards. Then I'm going to wrap around towards our third range. Almost done with the Desatoya here. Pretty much the end of the range ahead here. I top out at that high point via step track. Head down the ridge. Connect with the next. Not a single cricket today. I think they begin in localized groves, if you will. Spread out from their battalions. Form legions from there. Here's the last high bump of the Desatoya. Southwards it fades into the valleys down there. Once I fade away with the Desatoya ridge into the valley with it, I'll have a hot desert crossing, a valley crossing, to the base of the third range. Just across that low ridge there. The third range starts and climbs quite high. Almost as high as the heights of the Desatoya here. circa 10,000. So we'll have quite a 5,000 foot gradient across which to continue to hope to see plant life springing back to action. Still kind of very, very early spring above 8,000 feet here, although it's coming into it day by day. Plenty of phloxes out, for example. Persia tridentatas everywhere. You'll often see them forming dominant stands in Nevada. I bring them up because the smell is quite atrocious to me. Something about it is like a sweet urine scent. All the Persias do it. They have very similar floral scents. Large flowered ones, these small flowered ones of the Tridentata group, the most high elevation and cold adapted of the genus, small rose genus. Literally like sweet urine. Not a fan of urine, so it doesn't smell good to me as I interpret it through my sensory mechanisms. This crepus coming up. Might be Ensenada. I have to use my keys, but I don't have my keys. Flowing water in many drainages in the north during spring and May as the snow continues to melt. Great Basin wide, but especially in these higher ranges, of course. The potentillas coming up in the understory there. The weedy ones really like water. More native ones really like dry ridges. I didn't see any on this trip yet. They're probably just barely sprouting leaf. But this is nice fresh water to drink. I expect plenty of water lower down, but that'll be more in the ranch lands. It's time for a bath later, but right now, time for a drink. One of the incredible things about the Great Basin, at least in my experience during summertime, is that a perfect bluebird morning can nearly suddenly change into a clouded, potentially even thunderstormy afternoon and evening. Or evening, I should say. And I'm thankful for it at this moment in particular because it's probably the warmest day out so far yet. It's day 6 or so. And I'm about to do a low desert crossing. The only one of this trip. It's about, well, it's less than 15 miles in extent. But that could be brutal if it's hot day and pretty sunny. It's clouding over. This is essentially a horse path become a dirt bike trail. And I'm pretty neutral about it. Neither happy nor sad that the dirt bikes are getting high up there on those ridges. And they are. I saw them today, Memorial Day, holiday Monday. People enjoying the outside. Campers at the pass. Dirt bikers on the ridges. You don't see that as much in the Great Basin as in the Mojave. Must have something to do with being close to Fallon. Close-ish. Just one mountain range away, really. From the Fallon and Stillwater Valley, Carson Sink, etc. This is where folks go recreating. And, I found their trails today rather helpful at times. No surprise that the warmest day is creating potential thunderclouds. The mix-up of temperatures, it's been quite brisk the week prior. And the one night of more accurately, evening ahead of rain, was thunderless. Fine place to live up here in Buffalo Canyon. It's a flowing stream. It seems like it's probably mostly perennial. Might have to store some water come late summer. Pretty simple 5-room brick cabin here. Headwater, fiberglass insulation and everything. What a fine place to live.